Hey guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Polly. I am a nutritionist and I am documenting my journey to motherhood, starting with my IUD story. I've got a little tea here. This is a cozy space. I'm just going to chat about my experiences in the hope that it helps some people. Let's get into it. So around last November, my husband and I decided to start trying for a baby. We initially were thinking of trying around this year, but we were just getting very impatient and we were like, well, why don't we just start trying? And for reference, I had a Mirena IUD, which I will pop up here. It is a plastic T-bar contraception which goes into your uterus, and the strings are usually meant to like hang in your cervix. Typically it's meant to just be a quick in and out procedure. It takes like 5 minutes. We booked in an appointment to go and get that removed, and I figured that it would be super quick, that I would get it removed and then we'd be on our way to start trying. I was wrong. It's really hot in here. I need to take off my jumper. I'll be back. Okay, much better. So we booked in to get my IUD removed around the 15th of December, I think it was. And I did say on the phone to the lady that I had short strings. So normally your strings, like I said, are meant to sit in your cervix. But when I had my smear done about a year ago, my doctor was like, oh, I can't see your strings. So I went to go to the hospital and get a scan and everything was fine. It just had short strings. So I said on the phone, hey, I've got short strings, like if that changes anything. And the doctor was like, yeah, I'll tell the doctor and we'll give you like a special appointment because it might be a bit more complicated. So I was like, okay. The week came, we had booked a like dinner reservation on the Friday. I think we were getting it removed on the Wednesday or the Monday to like celebrate and get excited about this new chapter in our life. We got to the appointment. She said, right, you're just gonna cough and it's gonna come out and it's gonna be all hunky-dory. And I was like, okay. Spread my legs, did the things. She started going around there and it was quite painful because I've realized I have like an extremely sensitive cervix. And now some women that I've spoken to have said that they don't feel anything, but like even when I get a smear test, I feel like I have a lot of pain. This was even worse. So this was like 20 minutes of her just like scouring my cervix, trying to find out where the strings are. And she was like, look, I cannot find them. Finished that and she was like, I'm gonna have to give you another appointment, which is a 40-minute appointment where I have to go into your uterus. And she said, because of that, you need to come back because I have to get consent. So I had to like sign and say that I'm happy for her to go into my uterus and that there's a small risk of infection. We were a little bit disheartened, but we were like, it's okay. We'll go back on Wednesday, so it was 2 days later, and we'll get it out. Wednesday rolls around, feeling quite optimistic. We go in and it's the same thing. She like talks me through it, tells me a little bit more about this one because it's going into my uterus. She was like, it might hurt a little bit more. And yeah, there's a small risk of infection. So afterwards you just can't go underwater or have sex or anything for a few days just to be safe. I don't remember like everything about this because it was quite traumatic, but I just remember it lasting about 40 minutes and she was just scouring and going up into my uterus, and the pain when she's like in your uterus is so severe. Like this doctor was lovely, she was so nice, but I was shaking. My husband was like holding my hand and I just could not control myself. Like my legs were literally like this on the table because I was just in a family planning clinic where there wasn't like a proper gynecologist bed. It was literally just like a bed in a white room next to the wall. Like it was super clinical. So this whole time she's like, relax, relax. And of course I cannot relax. And she's going around and like I'm having to really breathe and I'm full body crying, full body shaking. And it gets to about 40 minutes and she's like, right, we need to stop. And naturally I was like, okay, like I'm so exhausted mentally, physically, let's just stop. I'm like sat on the bed, like legs dangling, feeling pretty miserable. Like I've been crying a lot because it's not only a physical pain, but like the kind of loss of this excitement we had of thinking we could start this journey. Like me just being so naive, not realizing that this was even a thing, that you could have complicated IUD removals. So I was just going through a lot. She said, right, because this has been so complicated, the next thing I would recommend is surgery. But she said that on the public waiting list, it's currently 1.5 years to wait to get it out. And naturally, that was quite shocking. And we thought that's such a long time to wait. And obviously, if that's the only option we had, it would have been the only option we had. But like to be told that because your strings are cut short by someone when it was put in, that you might have to wait a year and a half was just so overwhelming. We left that appointment, and this was just before Christmas time because we were in December, so things were starting to shut down. But we got in touch with a private gynecologist because we thought maybe if we go and we pay and we have like a proper bed, they might be able to remove it. This was just like on the whim, maybe they'll be able to do it. We drove about 3 hours away in the beginning of January because we couldn't get any appointments before Christmas. I was feeling quite optimistic, but I also now had real life experience twice of what this felt like, and for me it was so painful. And when I was on the phone to all of these people the whole time, I was saying, look, I have a lot of anxiety around this now, I have a lot of pain, is there no pain management? And yeah, basically to my surprise, they don't give out pain management. So the best thing that they do is say you can take paracetamol and ibuprofen, and then that's kind of it. Like if you take magnesium too, maybe that'll help. So they weren't really giving out anything, which I don't know if you guys have taken ibuprofen before getting an IUD removed, but it does nothing. I go to this appointment and she gets me up in the bed, and as soon as she like opens my cervix using that thing where they like put it in and they open it up, I was already feeling like pretty anxious and in pain, and she starts like swabbing, and it was just not a good time. She was in there for like 5 minutes and I was like, no, I literally cannot do this. And I felt so bad because my husband was super excited, and I was like, I turned to him and I was like, I cannot do this, like she needs to get out. That was another attempt that didn't work out. So that was 3 attempts so far within like a 2-month period, all failed, and I'm starting to feel a little bit gutted. Drove back feeling pretty miserable, and the woman had said, if you don't want to wait a year and a half, then you can get private surgery. And she gave us a figure and we were like, okay, that's quite a lot of money, but maybe we could potentially do it because you can get in within like 2 weeks. And we called my partner's mum, and she was chatting through with us, and she said, look, I'm happy to pay for the surgery if you want to get it. And we were like, you do not need to do that. And she was like, no, seriously, like I really want to help you. So we booked in for an appointment for like 3 weeks time. So this is now mid-February. And we booked in an appointment, and then about 2 days before the surgery, I think I got back the invoices because they have to invoice separately from all the hospitals. And it ended up being like pretty much double, if not more, what we were originally quoted, and it was just way too much. So we decided to not do it. We're back to square one at this point in February, when we'd started kind of thinking about this in November, and we're starting to run out of options. I called back the family planning clinic, and they said, well, you can get on the public waiting list for surgery, which I did, and then we can also offer you one more removal, which was at the specialist clinic near where I live. But she said that's going to be at least 3 to 4 months wait. Went onto the surgery list, received a letter back maybe like 2 to 3 weeks afterwards saying that they'd rejected my surgery because it just wasn't bad enough. My cervix was looking fine, like everything was fine, it was just too short. And I forgot to mention that I had a scan back in December to check that everything was fine because they thought that it might have been embedded into my uterus. So it wasn't that, which was, you know, thank God. My only kind of hope at this point is this women's clinic within 2 to 3 months. Get the appointment for May, and I'm just waiting it out. We're just going through the motions of life, like trying not to think about it too much. They did offer me some anti-anxiety meds called lorazepam. And so I was really hoping that that would help, because I think the biggest issue I was facing was not just the physical pain, but like I said, everything that went along with it because of everything I'd experienced. The day came and I was breaking it, and we went into the office and she started talking to me again, the doctor, and she was like, just to let you know, like this might not work, it could take a long time. And I was starting to like really freak myself out again. I was like, oh my God, like how long are we gonna wait? Because bearing in mind, this whole time I'm just frustrated because it's not as if there was anything necessarily wrong or like preventing us from starting to try. It was just this like plastic thing that I'd put inside my body that couldn't come out. Like I was so out of control of the situation, and I just hadn't even thought that it could possibly be this complicated to remove it. So I was just so overwhelmed about everything. I took my medication. Within like half an hour, I was feeling pretty chilled. Well, everyone said I was pretty chilled. I was like on the sofa and I'd slipped down and I was just like a bit doolally. We went into this room and there was 3 women in there plus my husband, so it was a big team of people, and it was a proper gynecology bed, and she lifted me up. So there was a veteran surgeon who'd been doing it for like 30 years on the bottom, who was actually doing the removal, and then I had a nurse to my left who was holding one of my legs, and then like a GP practicing doctor to my right. We put on spa music, I was breathing, I was literally trying everything to make this easy. And this is when the story gets good, because up until now, obviously, pain, sadness, confusion, it doesn't sound good, but this particular one was so good. Like, she went in and she'd put some local anesthetic, so she'd put some needles into my cervix, but I literally felt nothing. Like, a few minutes had passed and she was fiddling away, and I said to the doctor on my left, I was like, has she actually done anything yet? Because I couldn't feel anything. And the doctor was like, yeah, she's put like all the anesthetic in there, she's had a right old look. And I was thinking, this is insane, like I literally cannot feel this. I feel like a little bit of a pang of pain, and I'm like, oh, can you stop for a second? Because when they go into your uterus, it's like this stabbing pain. You can feel it because they can't get the anesthetic high enough. She was like, oh, I think I might have dislodged it. But I didn't want to get excited. So I was like, okay, like gearing up for it to be a good 40 minutes of her just like going at it because of my experience today. And then she goes back in for like 2 minutes and it's like a little bit more pain, like I said, like in the uterus. And then suddenly she's holding it. And I'm like in shock. I'm just seeing this like tiny little thing that's been inside me for, it had been like 7 months at this point or something, and waiting to get this out. And she's just looking at me like, it's out. And I'm like, nah, there's no way. Like, it didn't feel like it was a real thing. And she was like, yep, got it. And the craziest part is that she said, no wonder no one's been able to get it, because the strings, and again, I'll show you here, the strings are meant to just like sit in your cervix, normally just dragging down, and they can grab them and pull it out. But mine had gone over the top of the T-cross. So they were like fully folded over. So even if you were looking to the left and the right in my uterus, they literally could not find them. So she'd had to go in with a different tool and just grab the actual plastic thing itself. But then it was out. And so that was 3 weeks ago, and it's officially out. And honestly, the weight lifted off my shoulders was immense. And ever since, I've spoken to people about this experience and what's been going on, and you would not believe the amount of people who said, oh, I had a complicated removal, or it was so painful to put it in, or I don't understand why they don't give medication. There was this like underbelly of the IUD world that I just did not understand or realise was a thing. And so many women have been affected by it, and I just think that I wanted to post this, just so I could remember this moment, because it's momentous, because it's finally out and we can start trying to conceive. But also because I want people to have a bit more information out there about what IUD removals and, you know, them putting it in can look like, and for you not to feel bad if it's painful, because it really can be. So I hope that if this can help one person advocate for themselves and to get medication, that can help, and that would be amazing, because it was such a roller coaster of emotions those months. And I think it could have been prevented by me understanding that lorazepam, for example, was a medication that could be used, or even being able to know that because my strings were short, I should have technically gone straight to a specialist. So just understanding a little bit more and asking your doctor questions can really help with making this an easy procedure. Don't take this video as a reason not to get an IUD, because for the 5 years I had it, it served me really well. We were traveling a lot, we didn't want to get pregnant, and I think it was an incredible tool. But I just want people to know a little bit more about what is what it entails before they do it, because I still feel like we're at a disadvantage and we don't get told enough about it. And so I want you to talk about it, ask your friends, ask your doctor, and hopefully we can all have much better stories than mine. If you like this, then please hit the like button and subscribe. I'm going to start posting videos all about my experience on my journey to motherhood. I'm a nutritionist, so I will be talking about all the things I'm doing for prenatal conception, and once I get pregnant, hopefully, I'll be talking all through the types of foods that I'm eating and a lot of different things you can do to help boost your fertility, and also just everything to do with health and lifestyle. So give me a follow and I will see you in the next one.